Ulster and Munster, folks. URC back in action, round number 8, and it's 19 points to 22. A pretty bonkers second half sees Munster come away with a bonus point win, largely based on a heck of a defensive shift. Ulster had a red card and yet still managed to dominate the possession, dominate the territory, but just couldn't bust the Munster defence. The Munster guys defended like demons. But how did Ulster have that much ball? You could feel some frustration from the crowd. There was a lot of penalties from Ben Whitehouse. We will go through some of the key events and the stats, but you guys can let us know your thoughts. Honestly, that's a weird game. I watch a lot of rugby. That game is just weird. There's so many things which kind of go against the norm. As I mentioned, just in terms of the way the roles went with the red-carded team, the non-red carded team, the team with the possession, not being able to create the attacking chances. Yeah, bizarre game. Started with a few penalties conceded by Munster early, and that's a theme that would continue on throughout the game. I think it was 16 penalties throughout the entire game. I mean, they're probably lucky they only got one yellow card the entire game, the Munster lads, because there were a few down in the red zone when Ulster, neither side to be fair, but Ulster early were not looking to opt for penalties. They went for the corner, got themselves another penalty. They went for the 5-metre tap. Eventually they did get the try through O'Toole, who is the man who would get himself red carded a bit later, but they had to work for it. Little did I know at the time that first try through O'Toole would be one of the easier ones they would score, because like that try's on the 8th minute, the next one's the 65th. They had to go through so many close range phases to break the Munster line, but that one was still not an easy one. But he goes over next to the post, slotted conversion from Cooney, 7 points to 0 Ulster. I think a pretty good start to the game from them. They've been the better of the two sides. They've been able to hang on to the ball. Munster's first few opportunities go a begging. They have a line out in Ulster's territory that kind of goes awry, and then they've got another one where they give away kind of a soft penalty for some obstruction. So at line-out time, there's a couple of missed opportunities at line-out time for the Munster lads. And then Crowley gets pinged for an obstruction line on a kick chase as well. So yeah, they're copping a few from Ben Whitehouse. But defensively, you can't doubt them. The Munster guys were not allowing anything. And then when they would get their chances with the little ball they had, they look bloody clinical, especially that man, Tom Farrell. He's genuinely quite incredible. He's able to get their first try, which basically just comes from kick return when they finally did get themselves some ball down Munster's end. Farrell showed some real power to finish that one off. Crowley's kicking from the tee was not particularly impressive today. Apparently his record in the URC is worse than I thought it was. He was like, what did they say, 5 from 15 or something, 4 from 16, I can't remember, but his numbers are pretty poor from the tee this year in the URC anyway. That one, no different. And 7 points to 5, that's proper game on. Then the game has a bit of a turn with the O'Toole red card. That one was him falling on Alex Nankivell's limb with a kind of clean out. It was hard to really hear all of what the referee and the TMO were saying to each other, because the commentary team, whilst they were pretty engaging throughout the game, kept talking over the decision moment, which is kind of frustrating. But it seemed to be basically that he's fallen on the limb and that there's a focus on that. And it's a red. I think 6 months ago, that's probably a yellow. But with the focus they have got on guys' limbs and any weight being dropped on them, it goes to red. So Tom O'Toole goes off. I'm kind of expecting the game to shift at this point because, as I mentioned, Ulster's had so much ball. But it doesn't really. Like, the first half finishes with a few knock-ons, a couple of injury breaks. McCloskey has to go off injured. He's not the only one who has to kind of go off. Some guys come back on. McCloskey doesn't. But he has a kick dead. It's not really that much. A try each way and a red card in the first half. It's not been like the most enthralling half, but bloody hell, Ulster have had the ball. 73% possession, 68% territory. They've had more than double the carries, 94 to 36. Munster have had one more defender beaten, 6-5, and they've had one clean break to zip. Munster's tackle percentage is at 97%, which is almost unheard of. Any teams which get into the 90s, even the low 90s, is pretty good. So to be at 97 is phenomenal. Ulster's at 88, which is solid without being too wow factor, but it's pretty good. Second half is really where this game, I think, comes more alive. You can feel there's a bit of crowd frustration from the Ulster fans. Maybe not too happy with the red, not too happy with the kind of lack of yellows from all the penalties that are being conceded. But yeah, there's tension. You can feel that tension building. And then it kind of deflates a little bit, the crowd, when Munster get their second. And that's bloody Farrell again. He gets a hat-trick in this game. Nice cross kick from Crowley. That's better than his kicking from the tee. To that man Farrell. He gets it to Haley. Haley with the offload from the deck back to Farrell. He's able to score the try. It's again a misconversion. But it was nice because, as I mentioned, there'd not been that many wow moments in the first half. So that one was a proper bit of skill. The offload from the deck is some silky stuff. And then what I thought was going to be a game-defining period of play. It ended up not being, because there's multiple times where the game kind of shifts again. But Ulster, an unbelievable amount of pressure that just doesn't get converted. Like Werner Koch was chasing everything. He helps force a penalty from the restart. Ulster go for touch. They maul it. They get stopped. They go through phases. They get held up. Back for an offside. They go for the maul again. The maul gets stopped. They go through phases. There's a knock on. But then there's back for a side entry and offside. That's where we get the yellow card warning at last. And then Ulster go again. The maul, it gets stopped. They go through phases. There's TMO. And it's held up. Like, I'm thinking, man, if Munster can hold through all of that, then they're probably going to win. But there were certainly more twists and turns to come. Rory Scannell did cop a yellow card not too long later for Munster for a tackle off the ball. Ulster felt like really needed the score now that it's 14 against 14, but no, the Munster defence held again. Patterson, the number 9 for Munster, his clearance kick from the position of that wasn't the best, so they were still under a fair bit of pressure, and Ulster finally did manage to get this try. That's what I mean about how hard they had to work for it. 64 minutes, 5 metre attacking line-out again, maul again. It might have been nice to see a little bit of variation because the maul never really looked that dangerous, but they were going for it. After the maul gets stopped, Cooney snipes the next phase. Sheridan is able to go over, but boy, did it take a lot of effort against that Munster defensive line. Missed conversion, but 12 points to 10. Finally, they score. Now, the most brutal part about this for Ulster is, after all that, Munster score basically straight away. It's brutal. Like, the hands for Munster were pretty sweet. Maybe the Ulster guys are exhausted. I don't know. Usually it's the defensive side that gets exhausted from these big defensive shifts. But maybe it's the fact that they've had a red card for so long. But the Munster guys were way easily making ground against the defense of the Ulster boys. But I mean, there was slick hands from the Munster guys. So yeah, Nash on the half break. Daly with the show and go, some gas on Cooney, and they're able to take back the lead. After all that, it's only a couple of minutes, 65, 67, brutal, absolutely brutal. But the match wasn't done. I mean, Scott Wilson, the replacement tight head prop, goodness me, get that man the ball more. He was one of the few guys actually able to go up the guts of the Munster defence and make some meters. He went close to the line. Munster conceded another penalty. There was another yellow card warning. The crowd would have liked to see him go off. Home crowd, but no. Ulster 5 metre tap. They knock it on. It's pretty brutal. Ulster another attacking line out. It gets stolen. They are 3 points behind, so you could have thought maybe opt for the threes. Munster almost hit them on the break, to be fair, from that Ulster attack, but Werner Koch was able to kind of shut it down, scrambling. That guy does get everywhere. And then Ulster on 75 minutes get their third try. They actually get some go-forward ball. That guy Wilson again, and the build-up, the big replacement tight head. And then that man McNabney is able to finish it from close range. So 19-15, surely that's game. But Munster hit back straight again. It's brutal. When they finally do get some ball, which they've struggled to get, they just get go forward so well. There was maybe a bit of a question mark about some contact on Werner Koch on his kick receipt, but the ref ruled it was fine. But Farrell gets the hat-trick try. It is quite incredible. That's the bonus point. That's full time because they're able to eat down the last few seconds of the clock to make it 22-19, and Crowley does kick in a conversion at the death. But wow, what a weird game. Crazy. As I mentioned, it doesn't fit with any of the molds that I usually see with these games. So Ulster, despite the fact they got a red card for more than half the game, 69% possession, 73% territory. But despite the fact that if you're looking at it from Munster's point of view, 31% possession and 27% territory. They got more run meters, 367 to 314. More defenders beaten, 26 to 17. More clean breaks, 6 to 1. Like, that's quite incredible. Maybe not if you consider you're facing a team often with 14 men. But you've just got so little ball. It's bizarre. Tackles, 293 to 71. That's bonkers. The tackle percentages, 80% for Ulster, so that really took a dip in the second half. Maybe some tired bodies, maybe some space with the red card taking its toll, but 94% from Munster is just class. Class. Tom Farrell, 119 metres, 8 defenders beaten, 4 clean breaks, 3 tries, well-deservedly man of the match. Daly had 52 metres, Lowry had 46. He got smoked a couple of times, but that guy's a trooper. He always gets back up. As I mentioned, Vernon Cock was everywhere. Rob Herring won a couple of turnovers. Gavin Coombs and Niall Scannell, 34 tackles is also way above normal. Anytime you're getting into the 20s, you're usually like, wow, that's an impressive shift. 34 is nuts. Penalty count was 16-7. As I mentioned, only 1 yellow card. The Ulster fans will likely be none too pleased with, but hey, losing bonus point, but not on the best run at the moment. Obviously, both these sides have had injuries like crazy as well, so it was good to see some different guys get a crack. But yeah, next week, Munster home to Leinster, and the Ulster boys away to Connacht. I doubt it can be as dramatic as this, but hey, who knows? Great to see the URC back. It's yeah, like the Champions Cup games were a little bit odd, sometimes a bit deflating, but this game was bonkers, especially the second half. So, pleasing way to start my Saturday morning. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, folks. And yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out the Irish depth chart. We had a look at Andy Farrell's boys, kind of a deep dive on which players he's used, which guys have been getting game time, which guys have been over-relied on, any positions which have been chopping and changing. I'll put a link somewhere. But yeah, you guys check it out. Take care. Talk to you again soon. See you later.